Everybody, what is up? Is right. It is the Christmas season. It is upon us, and it is Flyers Talk A2D, which means it's Tuesday night, which means we're coming at you with some Flyers Talk. We got some fun stuff to talk about tonight. A lot of rumors floating around about Kings, Flyers, possible trade partners coming up real soon in the near future. I mean, Ducks are dealing left and right. Who's next? We're going to talk about that. Who could the Flyers be willing to give up? Who are they looking to acquire from the Kings? A little bit of a fun conversation for you guys tonight. We're also going to preview the Red Wings matchup number 2 between these two teams in the last 3 games. So we're going to do all that. So you're going to hit that like, you're going to hit that subscribe, you're going to hit that share button if you're on Facebook and X. You're going to get us out there. And now we're going to go talk some puck.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a brand new edition of Flyers Talk A2D right here on A2DRadio.com. I am Matt Sinsudi along with the Dark Wing, Brian Daly.
What up?
And the Broken One, Rob Povia.
Happy holiday seasons, people.
And Mr. Blue Shirt, Mr. Broadway, Mr. Switzerland, Big Bad Brad Ryer.
I'm back.
Yeah. Back in the saddle again. And we are brought to you by Specialized Physical Therapy. If you got any aches and pains that are bugging you, hit up the doc, Dr. Paul Vidal, over at SpecializedPhysicalTherapy.com. You can head either to Cherry Hill or Burlington, New Jersey. He's got great teams in both locations. Just a couple of sessions later, you'll feel as good as new. Those aches and pains won't feel so bad anymore. You'll be perfect. Dr. Paul Vidal, Specialized Physical Therapy. And the poll question for tonight is: a trade with the Los Angeles Kings could create the spark that the Flyers need to get back in to the playoffs. Agree or disagree? As we know, there have been rumors going about that the Kings and the Flyers are working on a deal. Ironically, too, because I do believe that the Kings and the Flyers do play each other very soon. Mm-hmm. So that's also an interesting little thing to throw in there. What better way for a conversation to happen between general managers than for the two teams to be playing one another in one of each other's buildings? And the Kings and Flyers have plenty of history with making trades with each other. One of the bigger ones we might remember is a certain former captain of the Flyers, Mike Richards, went off to the Los Angeles Kings in exchange for Wayne Simmons and Braden Shen that we got out of that deal. Shen, of course, is currently a St. Louis Blue and is captain of the St. Louis Blues. And Wayne Simmons, he did his time and he was really fun, and he is now retired from the NHL. So Wayne
didn't they trade Carter to him too?
He did his time. No, he went to Columbus.
Oh, he went to Columbus. I thought he ended up in L.A.
He did. Columbus traded him to L.A.
Oh, Columbus traded him. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But Never mind. Your tactical point, Maddie, Danny B just had, relations with their GM Rob Blake, and in the Provorov 3-way deal that got him Sean Walker. So there's already a connection there.
True. Mm-hmm. So with that knowledge in hand for everyone, do we agree or disagree, gentlemen, that a trade with the Kings will spark the Flyers' need to find themselves in the big dance again for the Stanley Cup?
I'm going to agree. I think they do need a spark on this roster. I think they're playing very well, as is right now. But, as we talked about last week, it's been 500-plus days since they've moved anybody on the starting roster. And I do think they need to improve in some areas for sure. I definitely think center is the obvious one. We want to try and get them a little bit better up center. There's a couple options that the Kings have there. And they're under 25, which is even better. So there's still some developmental stuff that Flyers would need to worry about. But there's a few guys on that roster that are definitely appealing. I know there's three off the top of my head that are more than likely not gonna happen, but they're on my list anyway. There's definitely some intriguing pieces that the Flyers could acquire from the Kings that could help this team take a step forward and hopefully find a way to win some games that they didn't win last year and figure out a way to get into the playoff spot.
All right, then. Robbie, how do you feel about this?
I'm going to take the other stance. I disagree with this poll, and I'll tell you why. Because I just don't feel that ultimately the Flyers and Kings are going to be good trade partners. It seems like the Kings are in the market for either a left winger to slot in with Kopitar or Kempe, or a right-handed goal-scoring forward that you can put in your top 9. While Lawton is the more attractive commodity right now, and that's what's been the talk, a buzz, 80 days out from the trade deadline, and we're talking deals, and deals are swirling and going down. In the case of Brian Danheim Ducks, to his point earlier, so it's a topical conversation, and his name has come up, but I don't think Lawton, he doesn't fit their needs. His left-handed shot, I don't really feel that he brings what they're looking for in terms of a guy that's any better than who they have in their top line. I believe they're more interested in acquiring Joel Farabee when talking possible deals with Philly as a change of scenery candidate and a guy that you could put with Kopitar and Kempe on that left wing. But his salary is going to be tough to work around with their salary cap. Bobby Brink may be of interest because he's that right shot forward, but he doesn't come with a proven track record that LA would desire in a deal, and how motivated are the Flyers to even move the 23-year-old at this stage of his career. So while I do think the Flyers need to make a move to spark a playoff run, I don't see an imminent move forthcoming. As I said before, the Kings and Flyers are just not good trade partners.
Well, Benny seems to agree with you. He says, is there really a center that the Kings have that move the needle that won't put us in a bad cap situation? Spoopy also saying Flyers need a right-handed guy. Heather does agree to the poll. So there is that. So I'm going to assume Benny's and Spoopy. I don't know if you guys are agreeing or disagreeing. I'm going to say you probably are disagreeing. If I'm wrong, please feel free to correct me. And Heather is agreeing. So far that seems to be the score right now on that. Brad, from the outside looking in, how do you see this? Do you see the Flyers and the Kings as good trading partners? Do you agree or disagree with this?
No, I disagree. You look at the Kings roster right now. Flyers really need a center. I mean, that's really what they need, and I don't see a center on the Kings roster that really moves the needle. I mean, they could try to get Kempe. I know that they've been trying to put him at center. If you're looking for a player that maybe you might want to get that's a winger, okay, but it seems like their need right now is a really good center iceman, and I don't see it. I give you the names of the centers on the Kings, but do you want any of these guys? I mean, are they worth it? You're not going to get Kopitar, okay? He's the only one really to know isn't that good, and he's old. Hennius hasn't really done that much. Lewis is 37. Thomas hasn't really proven anything. And Turcotte's been a bust since he got drafted. But Turcotte does have a high ceiling. Maybe you might want to try him. But as far as if you're going to go after a player, I mean, they've got a couple of wings that might help you. That's for sure. I mean, between Byfield and LaFerriere, I don't know if either one of those guys are available. You're not going to get Kemp, obviously. He's not going anywhere. Goliath, I don't think they're going to get rid of him either. He's got size and speed and everything like that. But Byfield is kind of like an enigma right now with them. He was the second pick of the draft a couple of years ago. Well, more than a couple of years ago, like 4 years ago. And he just hasn't really they drafted him as a center, and he just hasn't really, made it in the NHL big time yet. So maybe you try to take a flyer on him, but who are you going to trade for him? Is it really worth it? I mean, who on their team is really? Can you get LaFerriere from them? He's a right-handed shot. He's got 10 goals already. Would the Kings make a deal like that?
Well, let's see here. Before we jump into that, Benny's saying perfect situation would be with Buffalo and getting Cousins.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Swoopy saying agree for sure. He also says, as always, as you all know, from the last 2 weeks, I'm not trading guys for draft picks. Every big move will be a player for another player, especially young guys ready or just about ready.
Well, I know real quick, Matty, every move is going to have draft picks, just so you know. It's not going to just straight up be player for player. Especially in a team that's considered rebuilding like the Flyers, they're still going to get draft picks, but there will be more players involved.
And Heather's saying to you, Brad, she's curious, how do you feel about losing your boy Trouba? To the Ducks, by the way.
To the Ducks? Well, they can have him.
We don't want him.
Okay. He's a horrible player.
Well, I don't want him.
Slow. Yeah, I didn't think you'd want him either.
No, I was very mad when it happened.
Huh?
I was very upset when it happened.
So my question is,
I think you would be, because you know what? He's horrible. I mean, maybe he'll come back and he'll decide to hit somebody. He was good until the beginning of this season. He got all butthurt that he was mentioned in trade rumors this summer, and he decided not to show up this season. So you know what? If he's not going to hit anybody, he can't score. He's slow as hell. He sure as hell can't fight. He tries to fight. He gets beat up every time he tries. What's the point? Buy $8 million to be a number five defenseman on your team. I'm shocked that anybody would have taken his $8 million salary, but I understand why the Ducks did it, because they probably are figuring, maybe he's a low, right now he's at a low point, and maybe he'll play better with the Ducks because he'll get more ice time. And you traded Fowler, so you got a younger player in Trouba, who's going to be gone by the end of next year. If the Ducks can somehow resurrect his career, you could trade him at the trade deadline and actually get some players for him.
So I have to ask, Brad, when they sent him to Anaheim, did they get a first class ticket for him, or did he ride coach?
I think they probably sent him on a bus.
Oh, they put him on the bus. They gave him the Greyhound pass. Okay,
yeah,
okay.
Probably. That would be what he deserves, and all the nonsense that he's talking about with Drury. You know what, dude? If you played better, you wouldn't have gotten traded. Okay, if you decided after you were they tried to trade you in the summer that you weren't going to show up and play this year, well then fine. You know what? The Rangers could lose without you, buddy. They don't need you to lose too.
If that's how the Rangers treat players, man, no wonder they don't want to play for the coach.
It's not the coach. It's not the coach. It's the general manager. What you know what? These guys are playing lousy hockey. Why did they're prima donnas? Why do they deserve any preferential treatment? They're going out there for a skate every night and they're not playing.
Well, it's tough when your GM comes out and straight up says, we're going to have a fire sale. Everybody's available.
Well, maybe they should play harder, and then they won't be available. See, I'm okay with what Drury's doing. These guys are getting paid a lot of money, and they're not, particularly Chris Kreider and Mika Zibanejad, who have done absolutely nothing this season. And Mika Zibanejad should be ashamed of himself. He's now minus 15. You're a $9 million player, and you're minus 15.
Damn, that's
what's his defense?
Huh?
What's his defense?
Yeah. No, he's. You know who he reminds me of? Back in the day, the Rangers had a guy by the name of Pierre LaRouche, and we used to make fun of him because he just hang out at the red line all the time, like, send the puck up here. I want a breakaway. And he'd score 40 goals, but then the other team would score 80 while he's out there because he'd never come back and play defense. Because Zibanejad used to play like that, and then he had his kid, and now he doesn't play hard anymore.
So you're saying Pierre LaRouche was the equivalent of Paul Coffey for you guys?
Yeah, but at least Paul Coffey did come back into his own end once in a while.
Once in a while, he did play some defense.
Yeah.
Wasn't often, but he did a little.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, listen, remember back then you had to stay at the red line. You couldn't be at the blue line all the time waiting.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because like that back then they had 2-line passes. So it's
right. All right, so let's see here. Continuing through with what the fam is saying. Swoopy saying, wait, let me take that back, Manny. Not with the Kings, but yes, Flyers need a big move. Let's see here. We got Brink. What's up, Brinky? Saying, trade him after he got those 4 biscuits in a game. Love it. Sell high.
It would be a good time. I just think that there's better partners. But I mean, I do put stock into these trade talks because this came from Frank Servalli, NHL Insider. I think he started his career covering the Flyers and still has strong connections with the franchise. So this report carries more water.
Frank's legit. Yeah. He's a legit insider. If you hear something from him, there's something cooking. I just don't see the matchup, Rob.
Right. Or at least they got to return. They got to wait till Drew Doughty returns to really see what they sit at, both cap wise, both on the ice, and that's going to have a big say on if a deal, if any, gets done.
Yeah, I mean, there's intriguing names on this roster. Like, I would love Alex Laferriere. I think he would be a really good fit. He's not a center, but he would be a very good fit.
He's a scorer, though.
Might just need change scenery to really take off. Turcotte's biggest issue was the Kings going out and getting other players and clogging up his spot. And when you go out and sign a guy like Pierre-Luc Dubois, who did worse than Turcotte.
Well, he's gone now. He's on Washington now. So
I want Turcotte. I want Laferriere. Obviously, I want Byfield, but Byfield may not be attainable for obvious reasons. He's going to be the future of their franchise. He's Kopitar 2.0. Plays the same game, big-bodied.
They can't trade Byfield. There's no way they're going to.
They're pretty committed to him. I think they got him on a 5-year, $31 million deal.
He's signed an extension. I mean, if you're going to trade Farabee for somebody like that, you're not helping your salary, and he better make sure he starts scoring.
If you're trading Byfield,
he's having a down year though.
I know, but still, you can't.
If you're moving Byfield, you're moving Farabee in this deal.
Right.
Farabee's the only one's closest enough in cap space for that hit to not really even occur. So you'd be taking on another $1.5 million or something along those lines, maybe even less than that, to bring in a guy like Byfield. But again, he's the future of the Kings. He's only 22. If he's even 22 at this point, he's not going anywhere. He's the future of that franchise. They drafted him to be groomed by Kopitar to take his role. So it's not even a conversation to have.
Brian, a guy
Grant Clark is another one.
225 pounds. It's supposed that they came as a center, and that's what they ultimately want him to play. There is no way you're trading a guy like that.
So we've got.
No, we're saying the same thing.
Yeah. Do you even want to give up the amount of pieces to get up Byfield too?
Is the guy to try to get. They might be willing to move him for a guy like Lawton. You know, that would make sense for the Kings. The Kings need a center too, you know. I mean, right now the only real proven center that they have that scores is Kopitar. The other guys are kind of, you know, that's why they're talking to the Flyers in the first place, because I think they probably want Lawton.
I mean, I wouldn't hate but I don't want Deneau's contract. That would be my issue with it.
Yeah, and he's only got like 3 goals this year.
I'm not worried about goals with some of these players. Goals does not matter for a guy like Philip Deneau. Philip Deneau is a strong two-way player that will help with the penalty kill, and he set up plays. He's 30 years old.
He's 31, and that's old for a hockey player.
Well, I mean, I'm just going to say right now, if he's got a bad contract and he's 30 years old, do you really want to do that?
His contract isn't terrible, but it's still not something I would want to see the Flyers take on, because he's got 3 years after this one.
And
that's my only issue with it.
I mean, he's 30, so I wouldn't say the play would depreciate horribly under that contract. Just that if the cost is too high, then you got to foot that bill. That ain't worth it.
Yeah, again, like Deneau's two-way play, his penalty kill, his defensive demeanor would be a big asset for the Flyers. And he can set up plays. I mean, he's still a half a point per game player. So let's not act like he's not going to be able to help the offense either. He can definitely do that. But again, it's the contract to me, just for what the Flyers would give up, it's just not something I'm willing to take. Me, as my opinion, I'm not willing to take it on. But he could be a major asset for this team.
So let's see here. We've got Guido Valenti saying, by the way, hi Guido, how you doing?
Hey, Paisan.
Saying, I have a trade for you. Bobby Brink to LA for Arthur Kaliev, which I don't know if the Kings would necessarily go for that.
Oh, Kaliev needs a fresh start more than anybody on that roster right now.
I get that, but again, he is hurt, but I don't know. Do you think that Bobby Brink would be enough to move that needle? Nothing against Bobby Brink. I love how he's got that heart and fire in him. It's just that Bobby hasn't exactly dominated this year. He's had his moments, but he's had some inconsistencies. He's still
on pace
young.
for 35 and 40 points, so he just doesn't have the proven track record that I think the Kings would be interested in. But he does fit a need as a right-handed shot for them. And what are they really giving up with Kaliev? So I think on paper that deal makes a lot of sense. Personally, I'd rather hold on to Bobby because I think he has more upside than we've seen.
I agree. I think we're starting to see that. I think we're starting to see that a little bit. He just needs to figure out ways to put himself in better scoring position. He does a lot of the little things right for me. Like he goes out and plays with effort. His skating's getting better. His vision's getting better. He gets into some of the dirty areas that he wasn't getting into before. He just needs to figure out ways to get himself open and get some better shots on net. Some higher scoring chance shots that would. He was one of the best scorers in his draft. He dropped a little far, but maybe we're starting to see why he dropped so far.
Gotcha. And he does go on to say the Flyers need size. They're too small and not enough strong physically.
I agree. That's why I would rather. It's a shame because the Senators are hot now. They're getting back into it. I think they just leapfrogged the Flyers going 7-2-2 or 7-2-1 in their last 10. But I really had my eyes on, Pinto or Josh Norris. Like that would be that size that the Flyers really need to add to this roster. Now, boys, one guy we haven't talked about who's often, talked about when we talk about Flyers trades, that's Morgan Frost. Does he move the needle for the Kings, to Brad's point, if they are indeed looking for a center?
It's a good name. That's a good name. Potentially, because we may have briefly talked about it on here, but we're talking about any Flyers player who needs a change of scenery is Morgan Frost. He's done enough to make fans somewhat interested in him, but I think this year with some of his empty-headedness and some of the things that he's done or not doing, fans are over the Morgan Frost experiment. He's pushing 25, 26. This is a guy that we're starting to figure out who he is. He's not a Flyer. I like Morgan Frost. I think he is. I think he still has a ton of potential to be an NHL player. I just don't think it's in his system. I don't think that he fits for what Torts is trying to do, consistently at least. I feel like moving a Morgan Frost right now, while he's still young and still has some upside, now's the time to do it. And again, you want to talk about a guy who needs a fresh start. Morgan Frost is the guy at the top of the list. And he's got a movable contract, and he's a free agent at the end of the year.
Jesse Bell's saying everyone needs to get off this Pinto shit.
I'm on it, dude. I'm on it, Jesse. I admit it. I can't get off. I'm trying to wean. I'm trying to wean myself
honestly,
off.
He's a strong two-way player. It's not just about scoring goals in the NHL. You need guys who can play defensive side. Pinto can do that. Pinto's a very strong penalty killer.
Also, the idea is the puck has to go in the net, and Pinto doesn't really move the needle for you guys. You guys need a sniper. That's what you need. Okay, if you can find one. If you could find one, that's a younger sniper. If you could find one, that guy Rossi that you're talking about, okay, him I'm on board with. You're gonna get him, that's fine. Sniper, but I don't see Pinto as as the guy to go to target at all.
Rossi's not a sniper.
Hold up.
He can score though.
Wasn't Luchenko supposed to be touted as a sniper?
Luchenko is a sniper. Michkov is a sniper.
So
yes.
I was going to say, like, we have snipers in the system. I mean, they're just not here yet. Well, Michkov is, but Luchenko isn't. But the promise is there for him.
I mean, we're talking about guys who need a threat. Well, maybe not so much Pinto, but Pinto, I do like he's a strong defensive player. Like, he's not a top 6 guy. He's a third line center. That's what he is. And he plays a very good defensive game.
Well, you already have a third line center. A really good one, Lawton.
Yeah, but Lawton's not going to be here long term. There's rumors of him getting traded every year.
I understand that.
You're
going to need somebody else.
You're talking about you want to make the playoffs now. Okay? You want to try to make a deal where you make the playoffs now. You know, that's kind of what you want to get a max your effort for Lawton. Centers you can get a premium for sure. That's what I'm saying. You should try to get a guy like Laferriere. That would be the answer if you're going to trade with the Kings. You know,
we got Greg disagreeing to the poll. Mike's here. He's saying late to the party. My girlfriend was mad at me. Sorry about that. Jesse's also
been there before. Which is worse, the girlfriend's doghouse or Torts' doghouse?
That's a good question.
Flyers have enough guys in their system right now that they can score points. They have enough guys who can create offense, be playmakers in this league. They don't have enough guys that can play a full 200-foot game. The guy who's supposed to be that guy is Sean Couturier, and he's not. They need two-way players, too. They need guys that can play on the defensive side. Having goal scorers is fine. You want to be a shootout? Look at Edmonton. Edmonton has those guys. They're in shootouts every night. What have they won? Nothing.
They did get to the finals last year.
Okay, they still walked away with nothing.
True. They went to Game 7 of the finals, though.
They did walk away with the Western.
And again, what did they walk away? They didn't walk away with the cup, so it doesn't mean anything. They still walked away with the same thing that the Flyers did, and that's nothing. They need guys who can play defensively.
Okay. They also need to put the puck in the net, which they don't do enough.
But they have guys that can do that within their system.
You don't know that they could do that on the NHL level. They have guys who are.
You're missing the point here, Brad. Like they have, you don't need to go out and clog up another lane with a guy who's going to score points when you have a guy like Denver Barkley getting ready to come up.
Rob, you got some popcorn available.
You go out and get a young guy like Dylan Cousins.
Okay,
he's another fairly strong two-way player that has the upside.
Are you talking about the guy in Buffalo?
Yes.
Okay. Well, yeah, I take him. That guy is.
You need guys like Shane Pinto.
But he can
put the puck in the net. You still need guys like that.
Shane Pinto has what, 2-3 goals this year?
That's not the point, Brad. You need two-way players. You can't have 3-4 lines of guys who score goals.
You can find two-way players every year in free agency that are making $1-2 million a year,
but not under the age of 25. If they're not in your system,
you got to find some elite core players on your team. You don't know that any of these guys are going to be core players.
You don't know if you're bringing in Laferriere if he's going to make a difference either. I'd rather take the chance on bringing in a guy from within the farm system and going out and getting a young, under the age of 25, two-way center who can play on the third line and be a special teams player on the penalty kill.
Who are you going to give up?
You don't have to give up much to get Shane Pinto. Give up a couple picks.
You have 6 in the first 2 rounds.
I don't think he's worth
it. Right, you have 6 picks in the first 2 rounds.
Okay.
You can give up a first round, go get Rossi, and then you can give up maybe a second round and an AHL-ready player and go get Shane Pinto.
Yeah,
I pivoted off of Pinto.
You guys overrate him.
Again, this isn't about scoring goals here, Brad. We have guys that can do that. The Flyers have guys that can do that.
Okay. Well, at the NHL level right now, who's doing that besides Michkov?
TK.
Okay.
Tippett. That's your top two.
How many goals does Tippett have right now?
That doesn't matter because he's a 30-goal scorer. He showed that last year. He has had more success in the NHL with the Flyers under Torts than he's had at any point in his career. And he's still 25 years old.
Still young.
That's exactly my point.
He's still young, but you don't know that he's going to do that. That's what I'm trying to tell you. You don't know that.
You look at certain players and though, Brad.
Instead of waiting 2-3 more years for these guys to come up, which you don't really know if they're going to be all that great. A lot of teams overrate their farm system and their players down in the minors. Just because they're good in junior hockey and just because they're good in college doesn't mean they're a lock to be great players in the NHL.
They don't have to be great. They just have to be good.
Well, listen, you want a role player. Why are you trading for a role player? That's all Shane Pinto is right now. He's a role player.
But he's still under the age of 25. I think he might be 25 on the button.
He's still a role player. That's
okay.
He's a middle six player at best.
Okay.
He's probably a bottom six player right now. That's probably his peak. That's a ceiling. Don't you want a higher ceiling guy than that?
No, because I want to see what we have in our farm system first.
Okay, then don't make the playoffs for the next 2-3 years then.
You can't have your top 9 be all guys that are going to score 30 to 40 goals. You need guys that can play defense.
It'd be nice to have 2 or 3 of them.
The Flyers are going to have that.
Really? Who?
Tippett, Konechny, and Michkov
right now. Who has scored 40 goals with the Flyers in their career?
You don't need a 40-goal scorer. Well, look at Carolina. They've never had a 40-goal scorer in their success. Not in the last few years.
That's not true.
How many? What's the most goals Konechny's gotten in this season?
35?
Close. Okay.
Something like that.
He's about 5 off from 40, so he's pretty close.
Well, when they won the Stanley Cup, they had a guy who had 70 goals. So, you do need a guy who's fucking in that. Huh?
It's not the same game. There has to be. You need guys who can play defense on the forward side too.
Okay.
Who on the Flyers right now can actually take that PK role?
I don't know. I mean, Scott Lawton seems to probably be the best defensive player on their team, right? Forward wise, he's the one guy you want to be out there. I think you guys have to find a guy who could score.
Heather, they said role player, not role play. Listen, you need to get out of your Fedotov fantasies there.
And let me just jump in, boys, because let's not forget a name that we haven't been mentioning, and that's Tyson Forrester. You know what I mean? This is a guy that the Flyers had, according to Frank Servalli's report, TK's not available, and the other name that was mentioned was Tyson Forrester, and he's a guy that could put the biscuit in the basket.
Absolutely. There's another guy who could be your 30-goal scorer. If you have 4 or 5 30-goal scorers, you don't need a 40. You don't.
I agree with you, but you don't. I don't see that you have that right now.
It could be Michkov. Michkov could be your 40 guy. He could be your 40-40 guy getting 80 points a year.
Well, you'd certainly take that.
Benny's Nation does say that you need guys that can play with Michkov, and he will elevate the guys on that line.
He definitely will.
I mean,
and if you want to put some of these prospects together to get a Marco Rossi, you know what I mean? I don't see the Wild doing that now with them shooting up the standings either. But moving forward, a player like that, then you could do that. But until then, you do stockpile the pipeline, and the Flyers are going to be able to do an immaculate job to add on to give another level to this pipeline in the 2025 NHL draft with 6 picks in the first 2 rounds.
It's true. Swoopy saying, Bry, you need to take it a step further, not just two-way players with incredible speed who are made to play very aggressive and attack style of play.
I already know this, Swoopy. I know your mindset on how you want the offense to play. I already know this. I know.
Jesse, by the way, saying that Forster is so overrated, it's sad.
21-year-old's overrated.
And let's see
Peter hasn't
here.
even touched his potential yet.
He hasn't played long enough to really know what the deal is with him.
And then Benny's saying the issue is that the guys are not consistent.
Me too.
Well, unfortunately, that was kind of a given. When we rolled into this year, we kind of knew that was going to happen.
But still, it's no excuse. I mean, no matter what age you are, you got to find that consistency, and that's the battle right now. I agree. I agree with that statement.
Still a valid point. Yeah, still a valid point. Pris saying, with the fourth line defensive first center, I roll my D20 dice to cast a spell. Oh my god. It's common sense. Pris, D&D, brother? You throwing out the D&D. Oh wow.
I need no less. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm taking the bow.
Brad has been honored. Let's see, Jesse saying.
I'll tell you what, there could be a couple of guys on the Islanders who could score that might be available at the trade deadline that wouldn't kill the Flyers to try to get. Just saying. I know there are some of the top players are older, but you know what, the Islanders right now look like a pretty lost team, and they got a couple of guys who are going to be free agents soon. You know, if you want to try to make the playoffs and get a couple of guys in for leadership, they've got some guys out there that I've been reading a lot about them probably getting rid of some guys. Lou Lamoriello is sick and tired of losing.
Yeah. I mentioned Brock Nelson last week in terms of a guy that if the Flyers stayed in playoff position and wanted to make a little push just to see what they could do at this stage of the rebuild, he's a guy that could help, that has experience.
Brock Nelson would be a nice move then.
But he's 33, Brad. He might be too old.
Brock Nelson can still score, though.
But he's 33, Brad. He might be too old.
Well, if you want to
say 31's old in hockey, so what are you doing 33? You know, why bring him in?
You could bring him in for a year or two.
Jesse, by the way, says trade these hopeful players before they're exposed to be busts.
I'm not against that too. As you stockpile these guys, I'm all for taking a lot of, potentiality and turning it into reality. And if you can make a move like that, that's why I never find it a problem with stockpiling the pipeline, because when you're ready to win, you can put a couple of these guys that you don't have room for in for a deal, or guys that have yet to prove themselves on the NHL level.
There's something to think about. Just saying no on the Nelson. Come on, guys.
It's a guy with the experience, with a Stanley Cup playoff experience. I'm just saying that's a dark horse move if this young Flyers team finds himself in that second wild card, in that first wild card, after all 82 are played this time.
Right. And Mike's saying trade for Alex Tuck.
Not a terrible move. His contract's kind of hefty.
Let's see.
Alex Tuck got off to a terrible start this year, but he's finally starting to pick it up.
Heather saying, speaking of contracts, boys, think Torts will renew his with the team at the end of the 25-26 season? There's no reason why I don't think he would. I don't see any reason why that he wouldn't want to renew it, to be honest with you.
No, I think they're in good shape. I think he does. I think he signs like a 2-year deal.
Yeah, Danny.
Not until the job's done, or he's not doing the job. One or the
right,
other.
Right. I don't see that. I don't see anything changing on that. Let's see here. Had a couple of. See, Marky B saying we need defense. We give up 4+ goals a night. I could agree to that.
That's what I'm saying.
We gave up a lot against Minnesota. Of course, Minnesota, that game was just not well played. They were rough on that one.
Even the defensemen need guys who can support them too, and that's where your center is going to come into play. They need a good two-way center.
And let's see here. We got
a good two-way center. Bo Horvat.
From the. He's not playing for the
available
anymore. Where is he?
He'll be very available.
Islanders, that's right.
29-year-old player. Strong center. He'd be a very good move for the Flyers.
He has a no trade clause.
Ooh, well, that's going to pretty much
No
kill
trade
that.
is not no movement though.
No trade is I control where I go. I tell you if I'm moving or not.
A lot of
No
times when
trade
guys
also
have
means
that.
that you have a list of certain
No,
of
that's
teams
no
that
movement.
Huh?
That's no
No
movement.
movement means you can't go anywhere.
No, you have
trade
it backwards. No movement is you have to give them a list of teams. No trade means you're not going anywhere unless I tell you.
You got
Either
it
way,
backwards.
though,
But either way, he can dictate where he wants to go. But why wouldn't he want to go to Philadelphia and play with Mitchkov?
Maybe
The
he doesn't
Islanders are
want to.
old and fading away.
I mean, he also has 4 years left on a massive contract.
plus
I think it's
also at this point,
5.75 million, isn't it?
It's
how
8.5.
old is Bo? How old is Bo?
Bo's like 29,
29.
30.
All right. So I was wondering how old he was only because when you get to a certain age, you really don't want to go to a rebuilding team. You'd rather go to a team that's trying to compete for a cup at this point because it's been a minute since Bo's had an opportunity at one.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's the other thing too. Like he's been on rebuilding team after rebuilding team. Why would he want to go to Philly to be on another rebuilding team?
Because I mean, he would probably want to be on a team that's going to be more playoff bound at this point. You
I mean,
know,
obviously that's not the Islanders at the moment, but
Probably he'd want to be on the team that wins the Stanley Cup.
I mean, obviously, that's a
Well, yeah, he'd
that's
want to be on the
definitely
Panthers.
true.
But, you can't have everything.
That's true. Casimo Panetta saying, "Do you want the playoffs or cup draft? Move up in the draft. Plus, there are 7 centers in the top 11 in the draft this year.
A lot of centers, a lot of defensemen too. In terms of if you're looking to add a defenseman, if the Flyers, depending on how they finish this season, have a shot at Matthew Schaefer, I want to gobble him up immensely, and that'll be a great addition. He's already 6'1", and I believe tipping the scale is close to 200 pounds. So, and then also a lot of center icemen. You're going to fill some needs there, so you could do that through that, or you could fill the needs by packaging picks together for a proven guy on the NHL level. I'm fine either way.
Lenny Robinson saying Brock Nelson is 33. Stop the madness. Jesse's saying add York to the trade list from before earlier. Heather saying she hopes Tort stays. Benny's saying the one thing I think with Danny B is he wants to be aggressive, but he's not going to make a move just to make a move, which is the right
you don't want
decision.
to do that.
Right. Lenny also goes on to say Marco Rossi or Shane Pinto makes a ton of sense. And then Mike goes on to say, get Bruce Sutter and Rick Gossage. Maybe baseball will help the Flyers.
Yeah, except one's dead and the other one's 70.
I don't know. If I'm the Flyers, I as much as I would say compete as much as you can. And if you can't get to that playoff spot, find out where you're going to be draft-wise, and then adjust from there and go get Michael Missa. Appreciate you, Jesse. I see your comment down there.
Thanks, Jesse.
Go check Flyers Alley on Old City Sports Network. Go give them boys some love too.
Yes, sir.
They do a good job over there.
So since I never had really a chance, I guess I'll give my feelings on the poll here.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No, it's all right. Listen, hey, ratings. That's what's important around here.
Ratings.
So I will say, would it spark the Flyers' need to get back into the playoffs if they made a trade with the Kings? I'm going to say no. And I'll tell you why. Because I think Danny and Keith and Jonesy, they are in no rush to try and just make the playoffs, be a first round out. I think what they would do if they get the playoffs, they'll be happy to have it for the experience, but that's it. I think the way they're looking at it is, listen, if we get to the playoffs, wonderful. That's amazing. That goes beyond the expectations we thought we were going to do this year. Great. Great for the players to learn what it's like. However, I don't think they're in any rush for them to be one of the top tier contenders right now in the league. I know that's not a fun thing to say, and I know it's a frustrating thing to say, but Danny and Keith have been sticking to their guns, and I think there's nothing in anything that I've seen indicates that they've changed their mind. Nothing has come out that says that they're switching gears and they're trying to saddle up. They're just still playing the long run. They're doing the slow burn. So, and I'm fine with it. I'm still fine with it, honestly. And I get, though, where there is frustrations with some of the younger players and their development. I understand that. But that's what's going to happen. These are still, a lot of these guys are very young. Some of them are 21 years old. Some of them are 20 years old. Some of them are 22. Look back, if you've had that time in your life come and gone at this point, think back to yourself at that time. Were you ready to play at the NHL at that time? Were you ready to even be able to handle the real world at that time?
Oh, shit, I'm 39 and I still can't.
Right. So the point being is that again, I understand the frustrations, and yes, you still hold them accountable for when they make mistakes and when they, and you still teach them the harsh lessons that they need to learn. But at the same time, it's like, let's not give up. Let's not quit. I understand the Morgan Frost debate because he's 25, and it's like, okay, well, he's 25. And at this point, you're like, okay, when you getting your shit together? You know what I mean? Like, you've had plenty of time here. What's going on, buddy? Do you need a change of scenery? Do you need what Provy needed? And that was to get out of Philadelphia. Is that what it is? It's that's when you can have that debate. But for now, other guys who are younger, it's like, listen, they're still young, still developing. And Michkov has a God-given talent, so you can't even really compare them to him. You just can't.
No, Michkov is going to be Malkin in a couple of years. He's that good.
Yeah, I mean,
those Mets, he's a sensational player. I mean,
right.
You guys are blessed to have him.
I will also say this too: if Michkov is the big bright future of the Flyers, which he is, I don't think anyone's going to debate that at this point. They do need to find his partner in crime. I don't think they have that guy right now on the Flyers. Nothing against TK, nothing against anybody on the team, but I don't think they have him yet on the Flyers.
They need a big-time center. That's
right. That would be his partner in crime.
I mean,
right.
I'm with Corey. Byfield for Lawton in a second. I'm not saying no to that.
Nope.
If I were the Kings, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't trade Byfield, period.
Listen, if the Kings are willing to trade Byfield for Scott Lawton in a second-round pick, it's like, damn, you could not have asked for a better deal.
I was going to say, you drive Scott Lawton to the airport if they offer you.
No,
that.
I'm not driving him to the airport. I'm just going to take him all the way out to LA myself. We'll spend the week together. It'll be nice. It'll be nice. It'll be bonding between me and Scotty Lawton.
Road trip with Superman. There you go.
I'm sure he's got stories. Bring the family.
Oh, I'm sure he does.
I got a big truck.
Sure he does.
I got a big truck. We got plenty of room in the cabin. Let's go.
You know what's funny though? Think about how long Scott Lawton's been on the team. Lawton's been here for almost a decade, if not a decade. Yeah. It's crazy to think about. He was here before Giroux was captain. I mean, I think he was on the team literally a year before Giroux got the captaincy. But the point is like, that's how long Lawton's been here. He's been here a very long time. That's what's crazy about it.
And you don't think about it either because he spent so much time injured when he first came up. Like, he's missed so much time.
Right.
And everybody was concerned with whether or not he was going to turn into the player that everybody thought he was going to be. I mean, I don't think he ever reached that offensive ceiling, but as an overall player in this league, he's turned into a very good, very reliable middle six player, whether he's playing center or he's on the wing.
Right. I mean, it's been crazy because, I mean, like you said, he had a lot of injury problems when he first got in there. I think that did hurt his potential a little bit, but he did round out to a pretty solid player at the end of the day. And I mean, hey, he had some great moments in Philadelphia. So if this is the end of his time in Philly, you can't say that he hadn't had an impact on the Flyers. I mean, we will always remember those clutch OT goals he got against the Islanders. Hence why we call him Superman. So
he's my Superman.
Yes. Well, I mean, hey, to your point earlier, Maddie, the Flyers will have the Kings in town this Thursday to discuss potential deals with them and potentially for a Scott Lawton or whomever. But even more interesting is ESPN's Facebook post. I was sharing it with the boys before you hopped on, Maddie. And this is thanks to Becky Reinhart. Codzis, I believe is her last name. I'm probably mispronouncing that. But from the Flyers Extreme Face-Off, a Facebook group, for catching this. This was ESPN's, I'm going to share it with you guys. This was ESPN's original post promoting the game that's going to be on Thursday on ESPN Plus. And pay particular attention to the wording at the top of the image.
Yeah,
Sure.
And while I'll do that, I'll sit there and just let Lenny know that entire thing is just tongue in cheek. It's all satire. We already know and understand Byfield is not going anywhere.
Yeah.
It's all tongue in cheek. It's all tongue in cheek. But yeah, look at the caption. Look at the caption at the top.
I just did. So,
I think they missed something.
I think they definitely missed something.
Or they know something that we don't.
No,
Yeah,
I'm not going to give. I'm not giving ESPN that credit. No,
they
definitely are not. Don't know nothing.
Just to have fun. Remember that mystery skater that nobody knew about?
Yeah.
Yes, he's back. No, and I'm just kidding for the people out there.
What in his Canadian prison jumpsuit? I mean, hopefully they're orange so that it matches the team colors.
Oh, boy.
Oh, you stole my joke. I was gonna say.
What's funny is they changed this post shortly thereafter, but they didn't even put Mitchkov's name in there. Because that was easily what the faux pas was, right? Mm-hmm. And this obviously just shows the ignorance to the game that we all love. If you're tuning into the show, you obviously love hockey, and this is just a disgrace. It's absolute disgrace. Like, you guys know what I do for a living, right? So like, I'm an editor, and to see something like this just makes me want to vomit.
Yeah.
I just, wow. I mean, I thought stupidity had reached its all-time high. I guess I'm wrong.
Not with ESPN. They're always raising the bar.
Apparently, they have reached Valhalla-style stupidity levels right there on that one. Damn.
Lenny, I see your comment here saying something about Zegers puts it all together. Zegers is out for the next 6 weeks after having meniscus surgery, so he's going to be out for quite some time. But
damn.
I'm never saying never on a Zegers trade, so he just has to be healthy first.
And let's see here. Mike saying Mitchkov is winning the Calder Trophy. I mean, he's making a great case for himself. There's no doubt about that. Lenny saying I was hoping tongue in cheek, but you never know with some of these fans, especially blind diehards. That's understandable. We've had to deal with a few of them.
Oh, I see, Lenny. I thought you were still referring to Byfield because Byfield, I believe, is currently hurt too right now. Yeah. Okay. I see what you're saying. Okay.
What's up, Pete?
Gotcha.
So before we jump in, real quick to the Red Wings and Flyers, have a couple starred comments here. Benny was saying if you move Farabee for Turcotte, the Kings will have to put someone else in the deal for it to make sense numbers wise. Prism also says Byfield, Kempe, Clark, Anderson are not going anywhere. Swoopy also says Flyers need to start looking at certain style of players. I believe I heard they want to build a team of speed and up-tempo guys like Colorado and Carolina. So make all the moves about acquiring guys that fit and play those styles. Jesse said trade Frost, Farabee, Brink, and Urson and get Rossi, Brandt Clark, Turcotte, and Doc and get a King's ransom from tons of struggling teams that need a goalie.
Blockbuster.
Damn, that's some. I'm not gonna lie, that actually looks like something Bobby Clark would do back in the day.
I don't see them trading Brandt Clark either.
But the only difference is though is that those would be old guys that he'd be trading for from the young guys.
I'm definitely down for that group. Will it actually happen? Probably not, but I'm definitely down for those players. If
Danny pulled that off and everything turned out well and they all fit into the Flyer system like a nice glove, then let me tell you something right now. Danny would go down in history as the greatest GM the Flyers ever had. period, just from those moves alone, he would be the greatest GM of all time. And yes, that does include the GM who went and got Eric Lindros on the trade. So let's see. Aunt saying, I love Torts, but why is Andre sitting and Zamula playing? Andre is one of our best D-men right now.
Yeah, I answered in the chat, but I'll reiterate for the fan that I believe Andre's banged up. You know what I mean? He's a young player already, so you're going to want to manage his ice time. But he took that hit, up high last game, and Torch says it's not injury related, but I think that's coach speak. I think that's bullshit. I think he's banged up, and obviously Andre was outplaying Zamula and deserves the ice time more. I hopefully we'll see him back in the lineup soon.
Hopefully.
No, I agree with you, Robbie. I don't necessarily think there's an injury, but I definitely think it's load management.
Yeah.
Let's see. And then final one is Priz. Tell him, Bri, it's not about the points. Guy Carbonneau made the haul with strong two-way play and not a lot of points. Also, wasn't Carbonneau a captain?
I think it's
Carbonneau was on the Canadians when the Canadians had great players like Jacques Lemaire.
He did. I don't think, but he wasn't captain of the Canadians, right?
I think at one point he was.
Was he?
He was after Lafleur was gone.
Okay, so he was okay. Because didn't he go to LA at the end of his career, Carbonneau?
Don't remember that.
Yeah,
I forget. I swear he went somewhere towards the end of his career,
but I could be wrong.
Okay. I just remember he didn't stay on the Canadians his entire career. But anyway, so with that, Flyers and Red Wings, they meet each other on a Thursday. This is the second meeting between these two. They faced off with each other last week, ironically enough. I do think it was Thursday, actually. They faced off last week. Mm-hmm. So, how funny. And that was in Detroit. And actually, wait, was it?
Yeah, it was in Detroit. You're right.
It was in Detroit. Okay, good. Whew. I thought I was going slightly insane on that moment there. Sorry, guys. But...
No. Was it?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Like 98.
No, that was in Philly. They played last Thursday in Philly, and they play.
They play
tomorrow,
Detroit
they play
this
Wednesday.
week.
Yeah, they play Wednesday in Detroit, and then Thursday. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Backwards. That's what I thought. It was Wednesday. Okay.
Backwards.
Anyway, so these two have recently played each other. So. Right. Definitely feelings will be remembered. It's a lot easier to remember what happened in the previous game when you face the team the next week, almost at the exact same day. So, gents, how do you see this one playing out? Do you see the Flyers coming up with a victory on the Wings, or do you see the Wings taking it to the Flyers in this one?
I think we see a little bit of the same. I think we see – the Flyers are riding high right now. They got – a lot of things going their way. Bounces are going their way. For me, it's going to depend on the goaltending for Detroit. Are you getting why am I blanking on who their starter is right now? Are you getting Cam Talbot again? Or are you going to have an advantage and go after a rookie goaltender, Sebastian Cossa, who did not look good in his debut? So it's going to definitely to me, it's going to come down to goaltending here. And it depends on who starts for the Flyers. If Erson's getting the start, which version of Sam Ersson are we getting? Are we getting the guy who's going to start finding his groove again and getting comfortable on the ice? That's going to be, to me, that's going to be the key to the game there is going to come down to goaltending. We know that there's a lot of firepower in Detroit. With Kane and DeBrincat and Dylan Larkin and Lucas Raymond, Mo Seider, we know that they have a lot of very good players on our roster. They're definitely going to bounce back from the loss last week, and they're going to probably come up with they're probably going to come out a little bit quicker than they did last week. I see a similar score. I think it might be like a tad bit closer, but I do think the Flyers do wind up winning this one 4-3.
Okay.
I think Detroit definitely finds some ways to put the puck in the net a little bit more. I definitely think they net a power play goal because they desperately need one.
So let's see here. I will say it's definitely not going to be 4-1. The Flyers they took care of business on that one. I would say closer game. It's in Detroit, so Flyers are coming off of a tough loss in Minnesota. So I would actually say I think the Flyers, I think they get the win because the Flyers do like to do the rebounding game. So I think after taking a tough loss in Minnesota where they didn't look very good and they played very tough, was very rough to watch, Fleury got his revenge.
Indubitably.
Yeah, he gets his last
that
laugh.
team's been playing great hockey, though.
They have been.
Strong team, yeah.
Yeah.
Home
But
ice, yeah.
I would say the Flyers do compete in this game because they got something to prove. I think the Flyers just barely squeak out a win. I think we got an OT win from the Flyers here. And I think it comes in the shootout, actually.
In the shootout.
In the shootout, yes.
Interesting. Well, I mean, they're going to need to bounce back from that game. And what they need to do is what we saw last week and where they played more discipline. They played a good physical brand of hockey. And that's what you need to do with the Red Wings. They're very offensively gifted, but, you can out-forecheck them. You can out-muscle them and get the W. Flyers really dominated in the faceoff circle, too, with 63%. If you repeat that, they're going to be winners. And in the end, it comes down to special teams, right? I always tie it into that when we preview games. And in this case, we got strength versus strength and weakness versus weakness. The Flyers' power play is putrid 16.7%, 26, but the Red Wings' penalty kill is even worse at 67.5%, 31st in the league, which just stinks. But they make up for it with the 8th best power play at 24.4%, and the Flyers have brought the penalty kill all season. Have dropped down a little bit of recent, now sitting 14th. So yeah, I agree with it being a tight. Red Wings are going to score their goals at home. It comes down to good goaltending. I think the Red Wings, sadly, they get revenge and they win 3-2 regulation.
All right. By the way, also, Benny said, who knew Mitchkov could stop shots? They were from his own teammate, but he did make the stop. Yes, he did. Let's save. All right. Let's give him a break. He's a rook. He made a mistake.
I'm going to say this. I'm just going to say this. Poor TK against Minnesota on Saturday, robbed by Fleury, which he got no business making that save at his age, or even in general. Like
I saw his face in the post office on a most wanted sign because that was larceny, larceny.
Just added to all the other charges that he has throughout his career of grand larceny.
Wide open net, Fleury nowhere to be found. Finds the one spot where Mitchkov is. Poor guy. I felt so bad for TK on Saturday. Could not buy a goal. Oh man.
Poor guy. It happens, though. Also, Heather wants to know if they're ever going to play Fedotov again.
At some point, I'm sure.
I mean, we'll see. I know. It's hard, Heather. I know.
I'm still convinced one of these goaltenders gets dished pre-trade deadline and frees up room. And it may... Yeah, I'm going to stick with my guns. And it seemed like Jesse Bell was agreeing that you package Harrison in a deal, a guy that's been proven on the NHL level, and go with your Russian tandem. It was working before. You let them develop. That's what the point of this season was, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
True.
1,000%. Edmonton and Carolina, two teams that are looking for goalie.
Yeah. So, Brad, how do you feel? What's the results you got?
I think it's going to be a shootout. I think it's going to be like 5-4 Philly.
So me and Brad are on the same wavelength here of a
Detroit
shootout
gives up
win.
a lot. Detroit just gives up a lot of goals.
They do.
Flyers are going to score some goals against this team. Yeah, Detroit can score, but you know what? If you play a smart game against them, they will give 2 goals every game because they're that bad defensively and in goal. They're a very offensive minded team. I don't think they're very patient in their own end. They tend to overpass the puck. They pinch a lot and they get caught. And I think the Flyers, guys, if you get a breakaway, they're going to score. Like a guy like Mitchkov, that's just the way Detroit plays, and Detroit is just not disciplined. A really good disciplined team can beat the Flyers every time, but not a team that's not disciplined. If you're not disciplined, you're not going to beat them because you got to be patient. You got to be very patient against the Flyers, and a lot of teams just can't be patient. And you know what? Detroit is not one of them that can be.
Hence why we did
5-4 Flyers.
5-4 Flyers. Okay. All right. And then to finish that up, by the way, TK with Mitchkov with a goal. Okay. TK, Matty Mitchkov with the goal. Okay. By the way, also, Guy Carbonneau finished his career with the Dallas Stars from what Benny and Lenny said. So thank you guys for filling me in on that one. And Michael,
fan.
Interesting.
You can make the same point, by the way, about Doug Jarvis, too. He was another one that was like that. That was on that Canadian team. He incredibly good defensive player.
So with that being said, I believe we are at the end of another show here. Lenny's saying Nick Delorier with a hattie. So are the Red Wings just not going to show up? It's just going to be an empty net for him all night long.
He's had a hat trick before.
I get it, but it's just it's not what he's known for.
No, but he's had a hat trick before.
I know. That was that when he was a wild?
If you stand in front of the net, the puck can go in off of you too.
No, he shot all three of those goals. They were shooting goals, all three of them.
Ah, okay. Well, good for him.
He was with Anaheim at that
So
time.
he says. They're all snipes.
Hey.
They're all snipes in the box score. They're all snipes.
He looked like Steve Yzerman when he had the puck.
He was with Anaheim at the time, and then he was traded to Minnesota not soon after. But
so when Delorier got those snipes like Stevie Y, did Gretzky mishandle the puck before he got his hands on them? Is that what it is? Anyway,
why y'all being so mean to Nicky D?
What?
Why y'all being so mean to Nicky D? Respect the man. Respect the man. He's got more hat tricks in the league than all four of us.
That's true. He's got more goals than we do, that's for sure.
That was the upside when we signed him, right? Was that he's a tough guy that can score.
Yep.
Right. He's proven that.
All right. So with that, the Red Wings and the Flyers, they are set to meet tomorrow night against each other. Oh, I'm sorry. It is tomorrow night, right? Or is it Thursday? It is tomorrow night. Okay.
Yes.
Wednesday
Night hockey on TNT.
There. Yeah. Okay. There we go.
You're welcome.
Thank
You're welcome.
you.
I'm waiting for the money now. Come on. I plugged you. Come on.
It's ESPN. What do you expect them to plug this?
No, it's TNT. It's TNT. TNT.
Oh, okay. Well, it's Turner. He ain't giving you anything.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's all right. Atlanta fans feel the same way. Anyway, so with that, we thank everybody for joining us for another edition of Flyers Talk A2D. Next week, we will, let me just take a look here.
And while you're looking, Lenny, I love Desi too. So don't take it as I love Nick. I thought signing him was a great move for the Flyers, although he doesn't really play all that much anymore. But
well, just our luck. Wouldn't you know it? It is Christmas Eve the next time on Tuesday night. And also, just our luck, wouldn't it have it? The Flyers do not play. They are on Christmas break by that point. They play the night before, and guess who they get to face off with in their building the night before Christmas Eve? They get to go out to Pittsburgh and get to play Crosby and his Penguins that are
beautiful.
Yes, very shook up after the scorched earth campaign that Ron Hextall put out on them. Yeah. So
I've been targeting them in DFS. Tristan Jerry is a turnstile. Let's go. Let's go.
Also, be ready for an Ovechkin return.
Oh,
yeah.
Boy.
Already on the ice, man. That's
crazy.
He's getting ready to come back after 3.5 weeks.
Oh boy. Something tells me he's going to come out. He's going to start lighting that lamp up big time.
He might break the record this year. I don't think he does it next year, but if he goes on a good enough tear, he could break it this year.
He might.
They're a very
And
good
yes,
team this year too.
Dude, Russians are just built different.
they are, which
They're
makes it
just
even
built different.
and it makes it so much better that Mitch calls Russian. That is such good news for us. See, the Capitals had a great Russian. Now it's our turn to have a great Russian. Anyway.
Oh,
right.
no, never mind. Backstrom's not Russian. Ignore that.
No.
Backstrom's not Russian.
He's Swedish, isn't he?
Or Finnish. He's one of the two.
One of them.
I think
Anyway.
he's Finnish.
I'll leave Lenny's comment up there for a minute. Ovi is still a god. You're damn right he is. So with that being said, we thank you for joining us for this edition of Flyers Talk A2D, everybody. Brought to you by Specialized Physical Therapy, the Dr. Paul Vidal, over at specializedphysicaltherapy.com. We thank everybody once again for joining us. We hope everyone stays safe and stay healthy out there. And if we do wind up doing a show on Christmas Eve, because we may or we may not, who knows?
I won't be here.
I won't be here.
So I'm
You're
going
mad he's doing it by himself.
All right, so I guess that's a no. So since we will not be doing a show next week because of it being Christmas Eve, for all of us here at A2D Radio, we thank you very much for continuing supporting us. We love you guys. We hope you have a very happy holiday season, no matter what holiday it is you are celebrating, whether it's Christmas, Hanukkah, or what have you. Thank you very much, and may you have a happy holiday. So
You can say it, Matt. Kwanzaa.
Kwanzaa as well.
You can say it. It was-
Festivus for the rest of us.
Thank
Yes.
you. Thank you. That's coming up. That's Monday.
All right. So enjoy your holidays, everyone. Stay safe out there. Stay healthy. Have fun. And we will see you guys in a couple of weeks here on A2DRadio.com. And yeah, hopefully the Flyers will give us a present on Monday when they beat the Penguins. Hopefully. See you, everybody. Happy holidays.
Merry Christmas.